Do not get married until they do these 3 things. Just kidding, they got married in less than 2 months. And because they have videos harassing college students about gender and about homosexuality, we're going to take a look at who these people are. I've come to learn over the last couple of months with these fundamental Christian type of people that marriage is really, really important. Much more important than who you marry or why you marry them.
And if you're getting triggered, shut up.
Just the act of getting married seems to be a pretty huge end goal. And then retirement is harassing non-fundamental Christians. I don't know why I decided to do like a digging motion, but I did. I've learned today that I'm the only person I know that cannot do a stinky leg. So I will be working on that in my free time. And during my non-free time, thank you for sitting through conservative fundamental Christian YouTube with me. I would not be able to do it alone. And we're going to go through why they got married in 2 months. And I'm going to drop a hot take. I don't care. I don't care if you get married in 2 months, a month, a week, a day. If it works out, it works out. I'm not going to judge you for that. I would like to believe that when you know, regardless of when you get married. However, I've now come to put these people in categories. Bethany spoke of marriage like she was desperate for it, like she had not had water in 40 days and 40 nights, and the only way for her to do so was to have some on her wedding night. Paul found a 20-year-old and after 4 months said, I can't let this go. I'm going to be able to mold her. Morgan was 20. So I feel like these people don't have a great track record.
I'm Batman.
Okay, they have to be like 20, 21, because I would have also made that kind of joke when I was like 15. But not as an adult.
Okay, welcome back to another YouTube video. It's been a while since I posted, and if you keep up with my personal life on Instagram, you know it's because I got married. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce my now husband, David Hammond.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Wait. Hold on. Yeah, okay. I guess I just didn't notice. This is her YouTube channel. He's in a few thumbnails, but this is the first one that he's in. Also, I haven't posted in a long time was a month. Like the break between her prior 2 videos, Asking College Students and Tomboy to Woman, was longer than the break between Tomboy to Woman and this video where she goes, oh, I know I haven't posted in forever.
And so without further ado, I would like to introduce my now husband, David Hammond.
Good morning, good afternoon. Batman has arrived. We're here. All is good. Taking care of little Mallory, and today we're gonna have a juicy video for you guys. So let's begin.
Look at
Do you think he makes people call him Batman? Do you think when they're home alone and she goes, David, can you take the trash out? He goes, who's David? And then she has to go, Batman, can you take the trash out? And then he just goes, I'm Batman. And then takes the trash out. And he's like, oh, babe, I'm hungry. And she's like, oh, yeah, go make food. And then he's like, ugh, you know, Batman has an Alfred. You should be my Alfred girl. Juicy video for you guys. We got married after 2 months. I hate immediately assuming that they're doing it because they want to sleep together, but that's what I'm doing. I'm assuming that they got married immediately because they were like, oh, this is love, not lust. And instead of just doing the normal thing of like figuring that out, they get married so that they can sleep together.
We thought it was going to be better for us to just get legally married so that I can now be his full-time helpmate. We can get his citizenship stuff started. And of course, in all honesty, that also takes away sexual temptation. Let's just keep it real. Like if we're legally married, then we don't have to worry about like being in that gray area and trying not to like fornicate and everything.
That's also why I'm lower energy.
Okay, married January 28th, 2025. We met in person December 2nd, 2024. And as you can tell from the title of the video, that is what we're going to be talking about, how we were.
Oh, no. I know that is exactly what we were told was going to happen coming into this video. But in my head, when people get married, they like meet in person, are friends, end up dating, and then get married immediately. I didn't realize they were going to go from meeting in person to getting married faster than they have to on 90 Day Fiancé. On 90 Day Fiancé, they have 90 days. They have 3 months to be like, it's working, it's not working. And even before that, they have to apply for the K-1 visa, which entails having met each other in person. Oh, man.
Married January 28th, 2025. We met in person December 2nd, 2024. And as you can tell from the title of the video, that is what we're going to be talking about, how we were
Yeah, just under 2 months. Did they get married in a courthouse? How do you plan a wedding that fast?
able to get married in less than 2 months. We're just going to go in chronological order.
All right, guys, so it's a bit of context. My name is David Hammond. I run a ministry called Christ Developed, and that was really it. I was on my Paul arc, that's what we call it, where you're just single, celibate, serving the Lord. Give me an amen. And I was doing that for about 4 years. I was in a relationship prior for 5 years, thought I was going to marry her. It didn't work out. I then found Jesus, became born again, and then was single and celibate. Now,
I don't know if I'm mishearing that. I'm sure I'll get some sort of confirmation later, but I think he said single and cel, like single and celibate. Like if you're in a 4-year relationship, I'm assuming you're sleeping with your partner at that point. I don't think very many people go into their 4 or 5 year long relationships being like, yeah, we'll break up eventually and we'll each find the person we're going to love forever. So I'm assuming that they were sleeping together. And then he was like, this isn't going to work out. You're just not godly enough for me. I was watching a Girl Defined video and they said, you're not supposed to burp. I heard you burp, girl. That's not very godly of you. So then they split up. He finds God. Have you ever seen those like Twitter posts where they're like, oh, we were in a 10-year relationship, broke up, and he married someone 6 months later? That's somehow a less extreme version of this. I was in a relationship for 5 years, met somebody, and then got married a month later. I don't even want to give them the full 2 months.
nearing the end of that period, right before I found Mallory, I noticed that I was getting hit with a bunch of temptations. I'm talking like demonic oppression, just like hopelessness, you're gonna be alone forever, and that really never hit me until the last probably month before I met her. And the reason we say this is because Mallory had something similar, which she'll explain, and we believe that right before, the Bible says that what God has joined together, let no man separate. We believe that Satan knew that we were about to come together, so he threw as many wicked darts.
I promise you, big dog, we have not gotten there, but there is no time in which you two have come together. I like the idea of the devil like writing little roasts about people, and then at night while you're sleeping, the devil creeps up next to your bed, all the way up to your ear and goes, "You loser, dude. Dude, what's with the hat, dude? Show your hairline, dude. Dude, your haircut's not even lined up, dude. Loser. I bet you sleep with the socks on, dude. I bet when you walk into a restaurant alone, they don't even ask you if there's anyone else joining you. They just seat you. And then they put you in a booth next to the bathroom. Your mustache and goatee combo, dude. Loser. It looks bad, dude. Facial hair is bad, dude. That one's about us. Okay, listen, we have the same facial hair. All right. However, it looks like you could probably grow a beard. I can't. Like this is, if I shaved my entire face today, it would look exactly like this in 2 days.
To both of us in different ways to just prevent that from happening. So for me, that was, I'll be honest with you guys, reaching back out to my ex, meeting up with her, thinking like, oh, you know, I guess she's the only girl I've kind of known that way, so maybe I should get back with her. Of course, God's grace didn't allow that to happen.
What we're doing is we're slowly feeding our way towards desperation. I don't care if people get back together with their exes. I don't. That has nothing to do with me. That is your own life. That is your own life. In the same way that I actually don't care if people get married pretty fast, I don't care if you're going to get back together with an ex, if you're going to block them all, if you're still on some friend level with them. That doesn't have anything to do with me. However, when you lead, I was lonely, I was desperate, I was sad, I felt like I was never going to meet anyone. So I started texting my ex. Maybe you're just feeling desperate. And maybe you're right, you are alone. And that's not necessarily the best reason to reach out to your ex or to get married in less than 2 months. I'm waiting for them to reveal how old he is before I comment on that, because I don't know. I think she's 22, but we'll get there.
And I met Mallory right afterwards, and then her spiritual warfare was...
The year prior to this entire thing, or me meeting David, I had kind of put myself in a position, made a pact within myself, I guess you could say, that I wasn't going to entertain any sort of relationship for like 3 to 5 years. Now, that can be great if we're in our season of singleness where we're fully devoted and committed to the Lord, but the second that God calls us into a relationship,
Is that what the fundamental Christians are calling hot girl summer? The season of singleness? Lee and I started dating in May, so I did ruin her hot girl summer that year.
It's actually sinful, I guess you could say, to force celibacy or to force yourself being single if God's calling you into a biblical marriage. And so, again, within that same week that he was going through the highest level of his spiritual warfare, I had an encounter with the Lord where he was basically reminding me of this verse in Proverbs.
This whole time, it looks like he was trying to like swallow his spit, but then he started choking.
And so, again, within that same week that he was going through
Don't do it. Don't cough.
the highest level of his spiritual warfare. I had an encounter with the Lord where he was basically reminding me of this verse in Proverbs where it says, a man makes many plans, but God ultimately directs his steps. So I was questioning, I'm like, okay, Lord, what am I doing that doesn't align with your perfect will? And he spoke to me immediately about marriage and relationships. And he revealed to me that I had set this pact of being single for X amount of years, not because I was fully content with the Lord, but because I was afraid of getting hurt again, because I love very deeply and I'm a very passionate person, and that's been taken advantage of in the past. And so my heart was very closed off, which is why at this whole year prior, I had gotten more into like a masculine demeanor and stuff because I was so afraid of getting hurt again. Like I said, I was
Desperate man afraid to be alone, and woman who is afraid of letting people love her and who herself loves way too hard and too fast is not my favorite combo.
I was so afraid of getting hurt again. Like I said, I was in this place of like hurting people before they had the chance to hurt me, if that makes sense. So again, very closed off to relationships, but the Lord had really softened my heart in that moment and told me to let go of any of all time frames for a relationship. I don't really know what that means, but little did I know that was the Lord saying that he's bringing the man of God that's supposed to lead me for the rest of my life very, very soon. That was a week before Dave and I had actually mutually reached out to each other on Instagram. We had been mutually following each other since.
What do you mean mutually reached out to each other? Like somebody had to message first. Rin messaged Mario first. Lee messaged me first. Somebody had to. There's no mutual there. There was a first. Whether or not you wanted them to. Somebody did it first.
December of 2023, I believe, when I started my online ministry. And when we had reached out to each other, I believe I texted you first. But it was just a matter of us mutually wanting to get advice on evangelism. He was asking me for advice on how to evangelize the LGBTQ because that was something I was very well versed in.
I'm going to say this is an assumption. If you have a video where you're out of college and somebody says, yeah, homosexuality is homosexuality, and you go, well, the Bible says, I'm assuming you're on the side of it's a sin. So if you're going to tell me you're evangelizing the LGBTQ, I'm going to take the vibe you're handing me, and the vibe you're handing me is you want these people to be straight. According to her Instagram, she's 22, which is what I thought. And his Instagram is Christ Developed, with the very first video called Woke Chick Gets Triggered, Woke Woman Gets Cooked, Feminism Truth Exposed. But it doesn't say how old he is. His first Instagram post where he's tagged is an AI made video on bad Christian influencers. I love holding my Bible with my third hand. Okay, I've gone pretty deep into this guy's like other social media, and I can't find his birthday. I did, however, find I got married in 2 months, and then 1 month later, you were not ready for marriage. That is comical, at the very least.
And I was asking for some advice and mentorship on evangelism in general with things like atheism and apologetics and polemics, which is something he operates very heavily in. And we had our first phone call. That phone call lasted about an hour. Again, it was strictly business. Him and I were so mission focused on growing the ministry, not to exalt our own name, but to make Jesus's name known in every way, shape, and form. And we just bonded over that. From there, it kind of just naturally him started becoming like a mentor to me.
Yeah, so like Mallory said, I was doing Christ Developed, which was evangelism, apologetics, polemics, full-time for...
The mentor to like, oh, you're so developed and mature for your age pipeline. Yeah, I can teach you to be a good Christian just like me.
And so we met very mutually because of that. She was an evangelist, I was. We were just talking the Bible and preaching, et cetera, et cetera. And naturally what began to happen is as we sent voice memos or texts or eventually got on calls, I just noticed how congruent we were, how similar we were. Again, there was very little to no attraction on either one of our ends because that's not why we were speaking. And I just noticed how good of a fit we were.
Like you said, there was no attraction. There was no us trying to look for a relationship within each other because we were so...
I agree with like the sentiment of we weren't looking for a relationship within each other. Lee and I have known each other for years longer than we've dated. And at no point did I consider a relationship with her. And I'm pretty sure she felt the same way. But I can't imagine sitting next to my partner and straight up being like, yeah, I wasn't attracted to them. I'm usually into people who are like conventionally attractive, but like, who would have known the love of my life was next to me the whole time? There's just like such a difference between being like, we weren't looking for a relationship within each other and also like, we weren't attracted to each other. Like, I understand what they're saying. I just don't think I would have said that, or I wouldn't have said it that way.
But one thing I would like to say that I was really, really attracted to was the fact that he was so intellectual. Like I could have very deep, whether it be spiritual conversations with him, and we could challenge one another. I think that's the best way to explain this whole like friendship or like brother and sister season of like we were just sharpening one another.
Did you see his eyes when she said brother and sister?
Like friendship or like brother and sister season of like we were just sharp.
He's like texting his ex about Mallory. Oh no, don't worry about Mallory. She's like a sister to me. That's wild, dude. All right, a little bit of a hater comment. A 22-year-old or a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old being like, "Oh, I just love how deep our conversations get." I remember being 20 and 21 and 22 and smart for my age, right? I like to think that I'm capable of having conversations. Those aren't really deep conversations. Those are not, brother. You are not having deep conversations. I think at that age, what we consider deep is when we start talking about ideas, right? Oh, the idea of God and love and marriage and all these like not surface level conversations, but also like you spend so much of your time in those conversations explaining who you are and what you think, you forget to dig up who the other person is. And that's when you get deep, is when you are so enamored with the idea of finding out who someone is, slowly, consciously, and with care and love and understanding. Not, oh yeah, like the Lord, you know, like, oh wow, we're starting to develop feelings for each other. The Lord just like had this idea for us. Oh, what's your biggest fear? Oh, your biggest fear of spiders? Yeah, mine's death.
And so fast forward, David was already planning on coming to Texas, where I currently reside, Dallas, Texas, because he had a business partner here in Dallas, which I actually knew of that same person through another mutual friend, which is like another crazy connection. But again, he was already planning on coming to Dallas, and I offered to film for him because that's something that I've done for almost every ministry that I've been a part of, or individual ministries. I always help with like filming the evangelism and stuff. Leading up to David coming to Dallas, there was a lot of stuff that him as a brother in Christ in my life and a mentor at the time was really encouraging me to step into. And it was really difficult for me because it was requiring a lot of faith, whether just changes with the ministry, just challenging me with like evangelism and stuff. And so I really started to seek the Lord on if this is somebody that I should be trusting in my life. And this is about 2 weeks before we met in person. And I just kept feeling this peace in my spirit over and over again of the Lord telling me to trust him, trust his leadership. And I remember me like seeking the Lord very diligently and being honest with him and saying, Lord, I don't think it's smart for me to trust a man of God that isn't my future husband. And I heard loud and clear the Lord say, I know, that's why I'm telling you to trust him.
It was always really strange to me to think about all these like people within history who have claimed to have these personal relationships with God to the point of like, oh, God talks to me. If you want to ask God something, you can ask me and I'll ask God. God is going to tell me what you should do and then I'll tell you. It was always wild to me to think that these people actually thought they were speaking to God. And now that we have the internet and now that everyone has a place to kind of tell us what's happening in their head, why are there so many of them? I get that it's like, I understand that it's kind of just a way of speaking, but I kind of believe that they believe it. I kind of believe that they believe that every question they have, God is taking time out of their day of being an absent father to be like, oh yeah, no, those shoes. Ooh, with that dress? Okay, maybe not. Like if you believe in a God who's sitting there waiting to answer all of your questions, why wouldn't you then just take like a very small step to the side and believe in a God that would believe in your ability to make your own decisions? That's what you're doing. You're just placing them on someone else in case they go wrong. If this doesn't work out, it's not you, it was God. And God made it so that it didn't work out.
I'd even met this man in person. I had already gotten that check in my spirit that I can fully submit to whatever this man is leading me to do. And alongside all of that, I kept feeling this extreme burden to pray for him, more than just like a brother, but really to cover him in prayer with his ministry, his personal life, any temptations that he may be facing. And that kind of already gave me the, I guess, green light in my spirit or the check that he was my future husband.
I'm going to clarify this one more time and then probably not again. I understand the language. I understand the whole brothers and sisters in Christ, right? But I'm stopping after we're married. I'm not referring to you, even past you, as my brother after you are my husband. That is wild. It was like that time I made a video about boy moms being like, I will always be his first love. I don't care that you're his wife. It should have been me. You're my brother and I'm the love of your life. Jesus said there's no place like home.
He was my future husband because I know from the older woman of God in my life, they always teach me that one of the biggest roles of a wife to her husband is covering him in prayer. And then one last thing I'll add before we actually met in person was I obviously had gained a lot of attraction with him because the Lord telling me to like trust him and stuff. So I started to find him a lot more attractive. And again, I just kind of started to realize that him and I really were like a guy and girl version of one another. So it was really, really easy to be friends with him. And it's funny, I think this was a few days before we had met. I basically called him to tell him that I liked him without telling him that I liked him, because I didn't want to open my heart to somebody that wasn't even willing to, I guess, reciprocate that.
Okay, this is how I imagine this Christian woman told this Christian man that she had feelings for him over the phone. You ready? Hey, David, you're like a brother to me. And then she hangs up. Do you think he knows? Do you think he got it? I was so direct. And those questions are her directed at God. And God is like, you got it, girl. You got it. If he doesn't know, he's too dumb for you.
I want to share about how you reacted to that phone call. But
Yeah, so again, guys, like we said, guys, Mallory and I were completely looking at it logistically, just from a business, platonic, viewpoint. And I had kind of an idea that she liked me as like a little girl because I am 5 years older. So just like a little girl crush.
Okay, cool. 21, 26. I guess 22, 27 now. 22, 27 is not the worst thing we've heard, right? Like it was 2026 for Paul and Morgan. As a 27-year-old now, I would not date a 22-year-old. My partner's 26. Also, this is the largest age gap in a relationship I've ever had, a year. So I wouldn't date a 22-year-old as a 27-year-old, let alone marry one. Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but also like I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm sure some of you are going to have much stronger opinions and some of you are going to be like, I literally cannot care. And then there's going to be one person who's like, well, in the 60s, my dad was 32 and my mom was 14. You're going to tell me that's wrong? Yeah. What? Your dad's a predator.
And I had kind of an idea that she liked me as like a little girl because I am 5 years older. So just like a little girl crush. But I was like, whatever, just another day. I got many of them.
Oh, I misheard that the first time. Whatever, just another day. I've got many of them.
No, I'm kidding. And so anyways, it wasn't until she gave me a phone call one day basically saying, I like you, man. But she said it in the weirdest, most like discreet way possible, where she was like, I don't like you, but I like you. And then at that point, I kind of knew like, oh, wow. I was a little worried and disappointed because I did. That's not where I wanted it to go. And once she,
I'm not an advocate for lying to your partner. I'm too honest. But if your first thought when your future wife says, hey, I think you're attractive. Hey, I'm into you is, oh, yeah, I don't want that. I wouldn't tell him that, especially not in the middle of telling your story of how you got married. Leah is the prettiest person I've ever seen in my life. If I didn't think that was true, I would just take it to my grave. I will one day die at a ripe old age of like 34. And the secrets that I am keeping will be kept. That being said, if you have any secrets you want me to keep, please put them down in the comments.
said that, I knew like, dang, I've imprinted on this chick. Like, all right.
I don't like the way this entire conversation has gone. I don't like that he just said, oh, I've imprinted, like he's Jacob from Twilight on the literal baby. I was going to let the whole thing of, oh, she has a little girl crush on me go. But then immediately following it up with, oh, I've imprinted onto her. I'm her mentor. Oh, I can't do this. Oh no, she's too young for me. She's too young and impressionable. So what are you doing later?
I guess we'll see where it goes from there.
And I'll add too, I was very upset when the Lord kept pressing on my heart to fully trust him, because I was so locked up internally. I didn't want to trust anybody. And like I said, I had been so reluctant to even get in a relationship. So the thought of opening up my heart to somebody was very scary, because I understood that the more and more you open your heart, you open yourself up to the same degree of getting hurt by them. But I had to just trust the Lord. And I trusted that God, he's such a good dad.
God is such a good dad. If he tells me to marry my brother, I will. What in the Game of Thrones, dude? You guys have me quoting things I've never watched. I don't know Game of Thrones, but I know they're all related. So you're telling me when you get a voice in your head that goes, oh, you're so alone, aren't you? It's the devil. But when you get a voice in your head that goes, oh, marry your brother, it's God? I think they're both the devil. I think if you have a voice in your head that says this person is your brother, marry them, probably not a voice that belongs to something that is all good. I get that they're not actually siblings, but they speak of each other like they are or they were prior to being romantic with each other. And that's interesting at the very least.
He's not going to tell me to fully put my faith and trust in somebody if they're going to lead me astray. So with all that said, we then met in person December 2nd. He was coming strictly for like business. I offered to help film and everything. We ended up going to multiple college campuses, and he was evangelizing, and then there was times where I would tag evangelize as well.
I feel like harassing people, making fun of people, calling them woke, evil atheists isn't evangelizing. It's harassment. Harassment using God as an excuse is still harassment. And I feel like that cannot be a hard line.
I can say with that whole experience was it just fit like a hand in a glove. David always says that. And we just really hit it off. It was kind of like I had known him for a really long period in my life, and we just were hanging out as really good friends that whole week. I don't know if you want to add to that.
So again, when I came to Dallas, Texas, Mallory and I had been talking for a few weeks beforehand, just getting to know each other. I knew at that point, just before she liked me. And again, though, I just wanted to play it by ear. I didn't want to go into it knowing like, oh, we're going to get married, this, nothing. It was just, let's just court.
How long have you been making content, but you still keep clapping into your lapel mic? Like, chill, dude.
Let's vet, especially as a man, we have to look at things very logically, because if I screw over myself, it screws over her by default, right? It's like dominoes. So I met her, it was good, we evangelized, that was the main kind of cornerstone holding us together.
I didn't really want to date, you know women, they're illogical, so as a man, I have to be the logical one. I have to think this through. Maybe as a 26-year-old in this situation, yeah, as like the way older one, I don't think that it really matters that you're the man in this situation. Like, I think she's probably capable of having her own thoughts. Who am I, though?
And then I just noticed when we finished evangelizing, maybe let's go get food, kind of just, hang out in between, even drives from different universities. I noticed again how congruent we were, and I just let the Lord speak. Like, I didn't want to force anything. I was like, God, if you want this to happen, then it's going to happen, right? I'm not going to tinker too many things. And yeah, I got to know her more and more. We were very congruent. It was cool. Again, though, there wasn't,
He really likes the word congruent. Like, I do the same thing where there's certain words I'll use and overuse. Congruent's an interesting one.
Maybe she was attracted, but it wasn't like, I didn't know that I really wanted to actually give this a good shot until probably the last day we were together, where we were watching a movie, we're cuddling a little bit, nothing crazy, man. I just put my hand over her like this, okay? And
we're cuddling like good siblings do.
Doing that, and then she came afterwards she was going home, and you want to tell them what you said?
Yeah, so again, I don't really like playing games, and I'm so mission focused. My life is fully submitted to the Lord to the point where I understand my only reasonable service is to win as many souls over to Christ. So again, I don't want to waste any time. So obviously we were flirting that week. We were very compatible. And after that one night where we had kind of been touchy, not in a sexual way, it was just sitting close to each other, cuddling.
Well.
Okay. No, I'm not going to add that.
Is he joking? Is he? I don't care. I've done plenty of things on a first date, or the first day, like meeting someone. All right, I'm not going to judge you for that. But if you're going to judge other people for that and then you do it, then I am going to judge you for that.
Okay. Come on now.
Okay. No, stop. Okay. So as I was leaving that night, not too late, I may add, I just straight up asked him, putting the ball in his court. I said, hey, can I ask you a question? And he kind of laughed and he was like, yeah, you can ask. And I said, are you just going to go back to Canada and pretend like none of this happened?
What's so funny in my head, she says, I'm putting the ball in his court. Like when God gave the ball to Josh Giddey at the end of the Lakers game at the half court line, and Josh just threw it up. If you know Josh Giddey history, that's really funny. Also, he made that shot to beat the Lakers with no time left on the clock. That was so stupid. I'm so mad about that.
I share this because I feel like a lot of girls are really afraid to just kind of be bold about what they want. Again, if this is really from the Lord, it wasn't me forcing anything, because I was secure in of myself, and I told them that. I'm like, look, I know that the Lord's charged me to help you for this season, and I'm going to be obedient to that. If these feelings aren't mutual, then that's okay. Like, I'm just going to help you for a season, and it's up to you if I'm going to end up being a helper long term.
And then, yeah, so she basically put it in my court. As a man, I truly do believe that we have the final say. We're the leaders, we're called first. So I really had to court her. God usually, I feel, speaks to the woman first to say, yes, this guy's good. And then I very logically have to discern, are we actually compatible?
Yeah.
Are we
I know it's a microcosm of like this fundamental, conservative, traditional lifestyle that the man is in charge. Then they add religion to it, and they add religion to say, oh, because of. Do you not get tired being on either end of that? I would be tired if every decision ever was left to me. And I would be tired if I never got to make or help with any of the decisions. That would be such an unenjoyable way for me to live life, I think. Don't get me wrong. If that's your relationship and that's what you both want, that's dope. If one person wants to lead, one person wants to follow, and that's as deep as that goes, cool. Fantastic. But I feel like that can't apply to all of them. Otherwise, you have a situation like Paul and Morgan, where Morgan says, hey, maybe we shouldn't make this a long drive back home at the middle of the night. Our kids need to sleep. Paul overrides it and goes, no, we're making the drive. The entire time, the kids are just crying, and then he blames it on Morgan. So now Morgan in that situation not only has to follow her husband because he's the leader of their household, she has to apologize for the consequences of his mistake. And that has to be exhausting.
Because if you screw that up as the man, you screw over both you guys. Right. So from that point on, once she said that, I knew like officially, okay, she likes me. If I want to pursue this, I can. I got kind of all the green flags. And then I remember before going home, I prayed to God because I was like, God, look, like I'm kind of 50-50 on this right now. I've been very comfortable building the ministry by myself, single, celibate, yada, yada. But I will do this if you want. What do you want me to do? And
okay, so it was single and celibate. I'm going to assume that he wasn't celibate before this. And I don't know how long it lasted. If he was lonely and decided to hit up his ex, I'm assuming it was months. At the most, it was months that he went without sex.
And I just vividly remember driving back home that night or back to the airport, and God spoke in my spirit, which he doesn't do too loud, but it was pretty loud. And he said, it's not about you, meaning it's not really about what David wants. What does Mallory want? Oh, are we up to each other's likings like a buffet? Like, oh, is she tall enough? She this, she this? No. It's about the kingdom. Like, are you going to win souls? That's why I put you guys two together. So I said, dang, I had that fear of the Lord, man. I was like, okay. I straightened up and I said, I will give this an honest shot. So from that point forward, I went back home. We then had 6 weeks before I came back because I was going to come back again to evangelize, go to universities. Like I told you guys, I'm kind of sick.
Why did they leave that in? Like, they've had plenty of cuts in this video, and they just leave him spitting in? Okay.
So from that 6-week period, I just went full steam ahead. I was like, all right, like, let's see it. And we entered the courting period, like the real courting vetting period where we FaceTimed every night for like 4 or 5 hours. Really
sometimes
getting
longer.
Yeah, sometimes longer. I got a little sleep because of this chick. And actually, you got a little sleep.
Yes, it was, because I was still at school. We would be FaceTiming like late at night, and then I have to wake up for school at like 6 in the morning. But it was all so intentional and deliberate by the Lord every single day. Like, even to the fact that his hard drive where he was supposed to be editing videos from ended up crashing for like 3 weeks. He had to get it worked on and stuff. So that gave us an even bigger open door to be able to really like talk more and like court and vet one another and really just like test the spirits further.
I get it. It's just me being a hater. I do not agree with everything that is or isn't done is because of God. I just don't. Like, live your life. And if you want to live it being a consequence of God or a beneficiary of, sure. But at what point do you take any personal responsibility, dude? You're telling me none of this would have happened if God didn't make it all happen? God is the reason his hard drive didn't work. Is God the reason my camera freezes sometimes? Or is it because I don't have like a really great computer? It's probably God.
Okay, and then fast forward to only 2 days after he had gone back to Canada. This may sound very hyper spiritual, but this is very significant in our testimony of us coming together. But this is gonna sound crazy. So in the past, if you guys are familiar with my ministry or just me personally, you guys know that I absolutely love Jesus. And again, my only reasonable service to life is to win as many souls over to Christ. I carry such a heavy burden for that. And I know that God has called me to do really big things. And in the past, I've kind of had these like visions. I guess you could say it was an open vision. Within these visions, there's kind of like this ball of power. Again, you may think I'm kind of nuts, but this is going to make sense. Stay with me.
I don't think this whole like, oh, I'm having visions. Oh, there's some sort of power. Whatever. The words there don't matter. I don't think that's nuts. I think the problem is when people are so convinced that they're the one that God is talking to. If there's a God out there, they have chosen me to not only spread his word, his message, but to do it in a way that says, The reason you should is because if you don't, you're going to hell. That's where you lose me. Have your visions, have your own faith, have your ideas. But the second you're using them as an excuse to go, God said male, females only, or God said being homosexual is a sin. God said if Heelys weren't a sin, I'd be able to Heely, so you're going to hell for wearing those. That's just you being a loser, dude. I had Heelys and I was good at them.
Like this orb, I guess you could say. It was like this fiery blue thing, and I always understood it as like kind of my anointing, my calling and everything. And the Lord, for the past 2 years since I'd been born again, since October of 2022, I was charged with, or just feeling this really
What were you doing before then?
heavy conviction to really protect that there was going to be a lot of people that were going to try to steal that and everything, but I just had to keep being obedient to what the Lord was calling me to do. And I had this supernatural encounter with the Lord 2-3 days after he had gone back to Canada, and we were in this courting vetting period. The Lord had asked me, like kind of took me back to this open vision, and he was asking me basically to give that up to him. And I was like, whoa, this doesn't make any sense. I was like, Lord, you charged me to care for this, to protect this, to like walk out my calling. And I heard the Lord very clear in my spirit say, and you did well up until this point, but where I'm taking you, you cannot handle it on your own moving forward. And again, he was asking me, are you willing to give up your life and living out your ministry the way that you always thought you would for his sake and for my sake? This is what the Lord was saying. The Lord was literally asking me to lay down my entire life, to fully submit everything to this man that, yes, I believe the Lord has as my future husband, but there was no like official security in that. Like,
If God can't give me this in writing, then I don't want it. You had your blue fire orb, and Moses had his burning bush. Moses got tablets. Moses got the original iPads with the 10 Commandments on them. You got married after 2 months.
I didn't know if he'd fully like me. I didn't know if we were actually getting married. But I share all this to say, of a lot of women, Christian women especially, they think that, oh, you don't fully submit until you have that security of marriage. But in the reality, the Lord was asking me to fully submit before we were even married. And that's how it should be done, I believe, even biblically, because the man has to be able to see if you are fitting as a helpmate. If you can't submit before marriage, how does he have the security and the knowing that you're going to submit after marriage? And so again, I had this supernatural encounter. I remember it was like, yes, I give it up. And I remember it like floated away from me. This probably sounds crazy. And I thought, when I get these open visions, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I am crazy. If it's true, like it'll all play out in the future.
Crazy.
You know who else had visions? Raven from That's So Raven. And I'm pretty sure she's either married to or dating a woman. So take that, Christians.
And so I kind of just left it at that. I didn't tell him, same thing, like I didn't tell him that the Lord told me he was my future husband before I'd met him, because again, if it's from God, it's all going to play out. And then sure enough, before I'd met
I actually didn't tell him the Lord told me he was my future husband until he was certain I was his wife a month later.
him, because again, if it's from God, it's all going to play out. And then sure enough, 2 days later,
I'll say. 2 days later, I was working labor, just like a good old Chad, stacking in boxes, working in a fridge, and out of nowhere, I got sucker punched in the most gruesome way by God with the fear of the Lord of protecting this little girl's soul. And I had
Yeah, I tried to give it to him, but now it's so weird. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like her being like my brother. I don't like him being like this little girl. Dude, she's not a child. She's a woman. And if you, as her husband, can't see that, then that's a big problem. You did not marry a little girl. Did you? Did you want to? Did you mean to? Because I'm not the one saying it. You're the one that has already multiple times said this little girl. Like that's weird, dude. That is weird. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'm not going to make assumptions. You're the one using those words.
Protecting this little girl's soul. And I had no clue where it came from. I was working. I couldn't just clock out. I wanted to just leave and go home, but I couldn't. I just started my shift, and I probably had the most anxiety, not in like a bad way, but just like if I screw this up, it's not just my life. See, if I'm alone and single, that's me. I deal with the repercussions, whatever. But now if I'm going to move forward with marriage, she's going to deal with it. If I screw up, it affects both of us. And I had never taken that responsibility before in my life, of course.
Why is marriage your first thought? You just met this person. If I'm going to proceed with marriage, dating? Spending time together?
I've never been married before. And I felt that. And it felt like this, now that we understand, it was her little orb. She set off like a little volleyball to David. And then it just smacked me out of nowhere. And I had a choice. It was very, very important, guys. God gave me the free will.
Bro, okay, listen. This guy has 25,000 subs on his YouTube channel and 80,000 followers on his Instagram. He has been making content for too long to keep clapping into his mic. Stop it. Then he did it with her too when he like patted her when he was like, this little girl needs protecting.
He said, you can either choose it or you can run away. Like there's not like I wasn't being forced to it. And I just knew I gotta do it. As uncomfortable as it was, I need to pursue this path. So I did, I accepted it. I took that orb into my system. Come on. And from that point on, it literally went away.
This would be a lot more tolerable if he just kept calling himself Batman. I'm on the other side now. And Batman took the orb into his system. And he said, I'm ready for marriage.
The next day, like the anxiety went away and it actually transmutated into strength, into authority, into grace, into God saying, you got it, you passed the test, now I'm gonna help both you guys, because I was getting anxious because I thought it was all on me. I said, God, if I'm gonna do this, I need your strength. He gave me that strength, and then that's when we really move forward.
I wanted to share that little thing, as hyper spiritual as that may sound, just because I quite literally, like I said, was giving up my entire life, my anointing, my ministry. At that moment, I thought that meant I would never speak again. I would never teach again. I was laying down everything. I was like, Lord, I trust you. If you want me to be this man's full-time helpmate, and that's just staying at home and doing, cooking, cleaning, which I actually really enjoy, I was like, okay, because I know that God knows what's best for me. And I think that was also primarily just a heart check on my end, because there had been some idolization of like me kind of being the boss of everything, like me having my...
Lee has a real job. I sit here and I yap. If Lee was like, hey, I want you to just do everything around the house. Stop making videos. Stop doing whatever else. I'll take care of everything financially. I just want you to do the work around the house. I would, but I wouldn't put that on God. I would just be like, is this a relationship I'm okay with? Not, oh, this is what God wants from me. God wants me to be the helper. This is how you end up having multiple kids with someone who does not help you raise them, because it is your job to do the household chores and the kids are just part of that.
Me kind of being the boss of everything, like me having my own ministry, yada, yada, yada. And the Lord is like, no. As your place as a woman, you are called to be led, and the man is supposed to lead. And so, like he said, after that, he felt like he had more authority, and, he was really feeling like the Lord's grace very heavy over him. I also felt a lot heavier of a grace after I willfully submitted. It was a lot easier to submit to everything he was telling me. And that's where I kind of want to get into a little bit of our courting phase, which we'll make more videos in the future to go more in detail with, to help other Christians with it. But I feel like a lot of people, even in the Christian space, but especially in the secular world, they treat dating or courting as, they have these like 2 to 3 months where it's very la la land. Like
she just said, dating has like a 2 to 3 month honeymoon phase. You got married before you even dated long enough to have a honeymoon phase. Are you going to tell me that your marriage already has ups and downs? 2 months in?
Oh, it's very sweet and like hearts and roses and stuff. But for us, it was kind of like World War III.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Okay. I've said this before. Lee and I have never gotten into a fight. And that, in my comments, has somewhat mixed reviews. Some people are like, oh yeah, I've been with my partner for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and we've never gotten into a fight. It's great. And some people are like, oh, you're probably bad at communicating then. No, we communicate well. We communicate really well. She has all my thoughts and my feelings, and I have hers, and we're good. We just don't fight about stuff. We don't argue. And I don't even have very many examples of us disagreeing on something, and not anything that needs like a conversation. Like from memory, the biggest disagreement I can remember me and Lee having was one day when she and I wanted to eat at different times. When she got home from work and I was hungry and I was like, let's go to this place. And she was like, yeah, we can go in like an hour. If you're telling me your relationship, dating, marriage immediately starts with you two fighting, you should not have gotten married in 2 months, dude. I don't think I've ever had a relationship where I had a disagreement with someone or an argument or a fight that fast. Like, I started this video by saying I don't care when you get married, if it's in a day, in a week, in a month. I do think it's weird if you're fighting and you get married. Why would you do that?
like spiritually being attacked, but also we were testing the crap out of each other.
So basically, guys, like I said, dang, this video long. Like I said beforehand, guys, there were like phases. You kind of like, I don't know, building or like powerlifting or something. You have different like macro cycles, right? Where the first phase was us just getting to know, like, is this going to work? The second phase, which is what we're now married, obviously, but the second phase was, okay, let's go full forward. I took her little volleyball orb. Everything is a go. I know she likes me. I can do it with the strength of God. At that point, for those 6 weeks, guys, I drilled the crap into her because I really had to know. Again, guys, this is not
2 weeks of should we date? 6 weeks of let's have all of our fights up front. Let's do what Anthony Edwards is doing and pay 18 years of child support in one lump sum. And then let's get married and never fight again?
like a pride thing, but like as a man of God, which a lot of men are not men of God, you need to build spiritual authority. You need to build receipts financially, spiritually, physically. Like, can you lead? Can you be a protector? And I knew I did that work for a long time. So I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I need to make sure.
He had to test that I would submit to his authority and leadership. So you spent 6 weeks breaking her down into someone that would just do what you wanted to whenever you wanted to. For 6 weeks, you said, I will only marry you if you are not your own person. Yeah, this got really gross really fast.
You will not screw me over, okay? And if you're getting triggered, shut up. So anyways,
What the heck?
So anyways, for those 6 weeks, guys, it was really just me calling out Mallory for some things she was idolizing. And again, she was never like that bad, but it was, view it like a spine with scoliosis. It was really just lining that up. Just like, for all you feminists getting angry, God was lining up my spine, right? Anything I was idolizing or being selfish with, God was chastening me. And that's the responsibility, where we chasten them to say, okay, let's fix this up, yada, yada. What are your thoughts on this? We're talking every hard question you could think of, and Mallory passed every single one, and it wasn't.
I need examples. Because if you're like, oh, she was idolizing this bad thing, and I was like, hey, not into that, and we changed that, cool, whatever. But like, what could she have been doing that was so bad that you fixed in 6 weeks? Oh, I don't like that she watches half an hour of TV every day. I don't like that she edits her videos in DaVinci Resolve. We're a Premiere Pro household. What is going on? You know how some people, when they write the letter I, they'll do like a heart instead of just a dot? Every time she wrote a lowercase t, she drew a little Jesus on it. And I had to change that. You're probably not going to end up with someone who thinks exactly like you do, but there are plenty of things that you don't have to change. Lee plays video games. I don't. Sometimes she just wants to play The Sims or the Hello Kitty game. You know what I do instead of telling her to stop playing video games? I sit on her couch behind her. And I watch her play video games and we talk. The devil made this game, and it's her marrying women in Stardew Valley.
How to restart the video.
And it wasn't until the last week, we said there was a 6 week period, the last week where I really got that check in my spirit that I felt, you know what, Mallory, you really proved that you're willing to lay down your life, honestly, to follow my lead as I lay down my life for Jesus' sake. So the last week I felt check, I felt confirmed, and the final map pack, the final phase is when I came back to Dallas. We were gonna see, that includes meeting her family, meeting my family. If this goes well, I'm telling you, it's like a 3-part series. If this goes well, then we're good.
Right.
Wait, so this is all during FaceTiming, and while she's in school, not at all in person. You're like breaking her into someone you want to be? That's weird. I wonder if it's like her hanging out with her friends and him just being like, don't do that. And her being like, okay, I'll just stay home. Fixed her.
One thing I will add, and again, we'll make more videos expanding on the courting period in the future, but within 3 days of us courting, we asked every single question and more that you would ask in like premarital counseling, or even my mom made a comment that we had talked about things that some couples who have been married for 10, 15 years don't even have the ability, or I guess like humility, to be able to ask each other. Because again, I didn't want to waste my time. He didn't want to waste his time. And my thought process is, if this is truly from the Lord, I want to get going on whatever he has moving forward.
I do really wish they would get more specific, because I don't know that I don't have that list in my head. There is nothing that I'm afraid to talk to someone about. There are obvious like boundaries. Like, you probably don't want to talk about your sex life with strangers. And you don't want to talk about things that make random people uncomfortable. But within your marriage, within your relationship that is now leading into marriage, what are you afraid to talk about anyway? Like the example of people being in like 15-year-long marriages and can't talk about something, that's not you being special. That's them being bad at communication. You shouldn't want to be in a marriage, period, if you can't talk to that person about certain things. And if 15 years in, you guys can't have a conversation about something, then that's a negative on them, not a positive on you. Like, I'm sitting here trying to think of like, what would be a hard conversation to have? And I don't have it. And I mean one that's like leading into marriage, right? Like there's obvious ones that you have that are difficult conversations, but not difficult to bring up, difficult to maybe learn. Like if you guys have different ideas on children, or if one of you really wants to live somewhere specific, or if one of you wants to work until you're 60 and retire, and the other one's like, I want to live my life more than I want to work. But these aren't difficult conversations. They're just conversations you have to make time for. Like I'm trying really hard to think of what these might be, and I don't know.
I want to get going on whatever he has moving forward. And so again, fast forward, like he was saying, this is when I guess 6 weeks later, he had came back. He had already gotten the check in his spirit. I had gotten the check in my spirit way before. And actually him drilling into me so hard over that time period was the biggest green flag on my end, because I understand biblically that the fallen nature of a man, which I witnessed in men growing up, was to be very passive, to not have the strength or the courage to be able to put their foot down and say things that may hurt the other people and or the woman in their life's feelings, but it's for the greater good of the relationship and for that person. And so the fact that he was willing to say and communicate very difficult, hard things with me showed me that he was going to be able to lead me well, which is, you know, whether it be in ministry or in my personal walk. But anyways, he came in person back to Texas 6 weeks later. I believe this was like January 13. And keep in mind, like he was wrestling for some time of like, okay, well, maybe I'll come and move here in the future. But he just took a leap of faith through this time period. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, so basically, guys, like I told you, Mallory makes a lot of changes because I check her and God does it to me. That's how it goes, okay? So because I knew this was going to be it, it's a green light, I dropped everything, man. I live in Canada. I'm an immigrant. I lived in Canada. I'm now in the States, so I had to sell the condo, right, give up rent, and there's no going back. Once I do that, someone else is going to take it. So condo, bye-bye. My job that I was working part-time, bye-bye. What else? Move across, move everything into like 2 little suitcases and really just do that on faith.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. I came back here.
Yeah.
We didn't even really go over that, but I came back here. We met. We got the green light. All was good. I then met her family, guys, the mom and dad. That went well too. Glory to God. They liked me. Everything was smooth. And that was my mindset. Like, God, if this is going to work, you're going to pull through. Otherwise, like, you don't want us to be together. She then came back to Canada, met my mom again, all green flags. And I was nervous, guys, because to the world, this is moving very fast. Like, are you serious?
It is moving incredibly fast. Again, I don't care how fast you get married, but the reasons are not there, dude. Like, it's nothing here sounds like it's love. It sounds like it's lust and someone that's willing to submit to you. I wonder how her family felt about it, because she said that she didn't find God until 2 years ago. So is her family not religious? And if so, how do they feel about her planning a marriage after a month and then getting married after 2?
So you guys are planning on getting married in 2 months. You know, my family's not like, they're Christian, but they're not, you know, they're still a bit more worldly. So that went well too. And then we both decided, all right, that's it. She helped clean the condo. We sold the condo. We sold my car. I forgot about that as well. I had to sell my car. All of it, one by one. Bang, 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 bang. Go ahead.
We packed his entire life up in a matter of 4 days. And I remember there was this really sweet moment. I don't know why I want to add this, but I think it's just a testimony and an example where a lot of people say they want to give everything up to Christ. But I saw this man live it out, and it encourages me so much every single day. I remember he was like standing in the kitchen when we were packing everything. And I just remember feeling the Lord be so pleased with him, because he literally was giving everything up, taking a step of faith of like, before he'd even seen me again in person, because again, we were just like courting each other virtually up until this point. He had already given up his entire life, and it was just him fully trusting the Lord. And again, that just really encourages me, inspires me every day, or I just really want to honor you in that. But anyways, with that said, so unpacked his entire life. That's a whole crazy story in of itself we may share in the future. I feel like our personalities, or even just the way the Lord kind of keeps us on our toes, like everything's just very quick. We're very quick to be obedient.
Risk takers.
Yeah, risk takers, which is why we like barely, when I say barely made the flight back to Texas from Canada, it was like God's grace was so heavy on it. We got there like 30 minutes before the gates closed, somehow went through all the international security and like was able to get the suitcases through. It was just crazy. It was chaotic, but it was super cool. And I think like a really good summary or mark of our relationship is like, Satan tries to throw so many darts at us, mentally, physically, spiritually, like even interrupting.
How do you tell the difference? Like, how do you know this isn't the devil leading you into temptation? How do you know this isn't Satan going, I'm going to make these two marry each other in 2 months, I'm going to spend the rest of their lives breaking them apart. Like, what makes you so sure that the devil is not smarter than you and not smart enough to trick you? Your faith in God? God's busy. God is busy. God is busy being the absent father I mentioned earlier. God does not care enough about you as a singular person to do this for you. Chill.
Sleep and stuff all the time.
Hence why I'm tired.
Yeah.
And sick.
In the midst of all that chaos, I guess because of the chastening the Lord took both of us individually in our lives before we met each other, the amount of strength that has built up in us, no matter how much we get attacked, we're just very chill throughout it. And I think even more so now that we have each other, like it's just very calm in the storm.
Stoic.
Yes, very stoic. That like even if things get like really, really excited, we're just like, nope, just good. Like just another day. And that's kind of how a lot of this has felt, where a lot of people, like you said, thinks that, oh, you're going too fast, it's happening too soon.
And we tell them, y'all need more faith, okay? When you're highly called and anointed, sometimes your life looks like it goes real quick to the world, and that's actually a good sign. We are called to be set apart, so stop pretending to be.
No, you weren't, dude. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You're not special. How do you convince people who are so convinced that they're special because God exists, that they're not?
Be like the world. You need all this validation. They're not going to validate you. Your family, probably not. Your friends. That's okay. That's a green light as long as you got the confirmation from God, okay?
Yeah.
Very important. Who do you serve at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Man.
Get it in writing and I'll shut up. If you believe in a God so powerful that he gave Moses tablets, you believe in a God powerful enough to give you something in writing or an email with an @heaven.christ address.
So yeah, that's kind of it, guys. We ended up getting married. And we got to wrap this thing up because she's going to talk forever.
Yeah.
I wasn't counting. Like, I don't know which one of them talked more than the other one, but I feel like it was pretty even. Maybe I'm wrong and I just didn't notice it, but like, we gotta wrap this up because we're gonna talk forever. You know women, dude. Yeah, don't get married. Marriage is hard. Marriage is so hard. I can tell you from someone who's been married for 2 months, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. We just fight and make these videos.
I jumped all over the place at the end of that, I guess.
I cannot believe you just hit us with the wrestling otaku. That's so funny, dude.
Quick summary, because I want to add like a little overlay of videos of this. He came to Texas, met my parents. My parents were not only approving, but they were very, very excited because they knew that, yes, this may seem crazy to the outside world, but they're very spirit-led and they had already been getting word and peace from the Lord about all of this. So they were very, very excited, and they knew I've always kind of been a black sheep. I kind of just do what I believe the Lord's telling me to do, even if that looks crazy to other people. And then when we had came back from Canada, we ended up having the courtroom ceremony. And again, we'll make videos expanding on this in the future, but we really, him and I being both very like logical thinkers and trying to just do things the most efficient way.
I feel like he had to stop himself from cutting in and being like, well, I'm logical. You're a woman.
We thought it was going to be better for us to just get legally married so that I can now be his full-time helpmate. We can get his citizenship stuff started. And of course, in all honesty, that also takes away sexual temptation. Let's just keep it real. Like if we're legally married, then we don't have to worry about like being in that gray area and trying not.
Okay, we called it. 28 minutes in, called it. They got married so that they could have sex. Just say that, dude. Like, just say that. Who cares?
Not to like fornicate and everything.
That's also why I'm lower energy.
Okay, so yeah, we got legally married at the courtroom. Crazy enough, we actually...
When they have sex, he wears like a little Batman mask and she like tries to take it off him and he goes, no, you can't know who I am.
We actually got married by the same judge that my sister and brother-in-law got married at, which was super sweet. It was a very intimate, small ceremony with my parents, my grandma, and my brother, my brother-in-law and my sister, which is how I kind of wanted to always be since I was little. I'm just very introverted. I don't really like being around a lot of people, and kind of same thing with him. So we most likely will be having a bigger celebration.
He's not introverted. He's hiding.
Later in the future, but who knows? Because again, I'm just more concerned about winning as many people over to Jesus. The last thing that I'll add is, like David was mentioning, we're supposed to be set apart. That's what being holy means, is to be set apart, to not look like the world. We're in the world, not of it. And so a lot of people kind of looked at our situation and think like, oh, you can't even have a big ceremony. But I just felt this really big, I guess, check in my spirit or encouragement from the Lord of like, are you willing to give up what the world thinks is good as far as like the big ceremony, the super expensive rings, which we still got really nice ones. I'll just add, thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome, chick.
But,
and I got her a house. We got a townhouse too.
which was crazy. We forgot to add that the Tuesday, January 28th, that we got legally married, we got approved for our townhouse. So everything, as crazy fast as all this has seemed, God just breathed on it so heavily. His hand was over everything. We kid you not, again, going down to like, we should have missed.
If you're one of these women, I feel like you have to pray for a tiny house because you're going to be in charge of everything that has to do with cleaning it, maintaining it, making sure it's just not disgusting.
The flight to Canada. We should have missed the flight back to the States. We shouldn't have sold his car the day before leaving.
That's not God. That's bad planning. Stop it. Oh, God made us almost miss our flights.
We shouldn't have gotten the condo ready, but like we shouldn't have gotten the townhouse, you know, because he technically isn't a U.S. citizen quite yet, although we're working on that. So if you want to pray for that process to be smooth,
come on now.
Please do. But none of that like should have happened, but God's grace was so heavy on it because we were walking out by faith. When you step out in faith, that allows God's grace to really pour heavily over your life. We've been married now for what, a week and a half?
About 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So take our advice because we've been married for 2 whole weeks.
You've been married for 2 weeks, dog.
Yeah, going strong.
And it's been good. Again, since then, it's been pretty chaotic. We've had to move into temporary housing. We have Airbnb before we actually move into our townhome on March 7th, I believe. But again, it's all just been very seamless. And by God's grace, we've been able to be very stoic throughout all of this. We don't really get shaken. I mean, I may have had a mental breakdown once. But again, the Lord has... Okay, maybe twice, but now I have a husband now who's so sweet and so patient with me that he just loves on me in those moments.
There's a lot happening in a short period of time. Marriage, house, moving, all of it within this like little 2-month and 2-week bubble. It is normal for her to have her breakdowns. But wouldn't you just like want to space that out a little bit? Like if you can get him over on a K1, I don't know. If God meant for things to happen, wouldn't you believe in a God that wanted you to take your time in making those things happen? So far, the 2 reasons that they dropped for getting married were 1, to help him get his citizenship faster, which, sure, but he's Canadian. He doesn't really need it that badly, right? Like he's not coming over from a country where he has to have a visa every time he wants to enter. And 2, so that they could have sex. Just do it. So you're telling me you believe in a God who will forgive you for harassing strangers, but not one who will forgive you for having sex before marriage once you're actually married?
And when he gets a little stressed or maybe gets a little worried on some things, I'm just very quick to really love on him. Yeah. And cook for him.
Love on that.
And I keep everything nice and clean.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's great. She helps me be much more efficient. But we'll make many more videos on like what's required from men and women because again, we're still pretty new at this, but we knew going into it, even before marriage, like what our roles are. Because yes, you have roles. Stop pretending like you don't. Otherwise, why would you get married? Don't be no tofu useless Christian.
Ugh, don't be a tofu useless Christian. Dog, you know when he means roles, he means specifically gender roles in their relationship. And the thing is, you can just assign roles. Like the idea of everything in a house being left to the woman is partly why so many divorces happen. There are plenty of things that I don't like to do around the house, and there are things that Lee doesn't like to do. I do the ones that she doesn't like to do, and she does the ones that I don't. And that's pretty simple. Lee hates making the bed. I make the bed every day. It takes 2 minutes, and if I'm not feeling it that day, I turn on the big light so that it bugs me until I make the bed. It cannot be that difficult to just be a person who helps your spouse. And if it is, consider that you have yourself to work on.
Live for God, actually be a real, obedient, useful Christian.
Isn't that so cool?
Come on.
His middle name is Christian and mine is Faith.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. We'll check you next time. Much love.
His middle name is Christian and mine is Faith. Isn't that so cool how God did that? Conservative fundamental Christians. What did we learn today? There was a jab at feminism. There was a jab at not being submissive. 2 people, one of them older than the other, in 2 different places in life, deciding that they're going to fight for 2 months and then get married. This is exactly what I expected. When I saw that they got married after 2 months, my immediate thought was, oh, they got married so that they can sleep together. And at some point, they said that. That's fine, I guess. I don't think you had to get married to do that, but I understand that in your very specific section of religion, if you're not married and you have sex, you're going to hell. If you're gay, you're going to hell. If you're a feminist, you're going to hell. If you're under 5'8", you identify as a man, you're going to hell. If you're a Capricorn, not looking great. I get it. And so you're going to use it as an excuse to harass people. And we haven't gotten to those videos yet, but we will. Yeah, there's nothing special about these people. But if you tell them that, you're going to hell. So I guess we can all hang out there together. I'm going to call it there, and I'm sure we'll be back eventually. Thank you for spending your time with me. This is probably a good time to say goodbye to Toast. This is my favorite thing to do, and you're my favorite people to do it with. Good. We're good. I will not be sending anyone my passport. Sorry. I'm gonna go stand in a parking lot in my hometown and hope I meet the Cartnark so that I can chase him.